Is it ever too early to start thinking about the Newbery and Caldecott Medal? I mean, it's the spring, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the giant mounds of snow in Michigan are melting, and now they're just small snow things covered in dirt. It's never too early. Maybe it is, but we're going to do it anyway. Today we're going to talk about some early 2020 Newbery and Caldecott predictions. Are you ready? Let's go. I thought it would be fun to, throughout the year, share some books that I'm thinking might be considered for the Newbery and Caldecott Medal. So maybe every season I'll make one of these videos, and what I'll do is I'll share 3 or so picture books, or 3 or so books that I think are Caldecott worthy, and then 3 books that I think are Newbery worthy. In 3 months, I might think that a book from today is going to win the Newbery Medal, but I'm going to try to talk about new books. So at the end of the year, I'll have like 12 Newbery and 12 Caldecott, and then maybe I'll make a 5th video before the announcements with the books that I think will win. But for right now, a quarter of the way into the year, I'm going to share with you the books that are at the top of my Newbery and Caldecott list. All right, let's start with Caldecott, Carl and the Meaning of Life by Deborah Friedman. It is just a gorgeous book. Like all of Deborah Friedman's books, it is beautiful. The details are magical. The story is fascinating. This is a story of Carl, an earthworm, who just doesn't really know why he exists or what's even the purpose of Carl being around. And so he decides to stop doing his job. And then when worms don't do their job, it's fascinating and sad and pretty wild to see what happens. My kids love this book. We've read it aloud multiple times. I think that teachers who teach about the earth, about plants, about soil, about all ecosystems and habitats and how everything is intertwined are going to love this book. The art is distinguished. Carl and the Meaning of Life. Next up is another by Christian Robinson. This is the very first book that he authored and illustrated. He wrote the book and drew the pictures, which is fun because there are 0 words. It's a wordless picture book, but it's fun to say that he wrote it because he did write the story. This is the book that when you finish reading it, you will immediately have to reread it. And every time you reread it, you'll have more of your questions answered, and you'll also have more questions. It's fascinating. The story is wild. It's about these different dimensions, and I feel like I understand it more every time I read it, but I also have no idea if I am even on the right track of what's going on. And that is a beautiful thing about a picture book like this. We will all read it differently. We will all see different things and appreciate different things about this. Another is going to probably be on every single mock Caldecott list for 2020. The third book that I want to talk about for Caldecott early in the year, Music for Mr. Moon, written by Philip C. Stead, illustrated by Aaron E. Stead. It feels like every single year when John Shu and I do a mock Caldecott list, we have one of Aaron Stead's books on it. Her work is just gorgeous. Everything she does. Like, I bet when she writes Phil a note to asking him to do something or telling him something, I bet it's beautiful. It's just, her work is just magnificent. I think she was the youngest person ever to win a Caldecott Medal. Don't quote me on that, but I think she was, with A Sick Day for Amos McGee, which was also written by her husband, Philip. And she's written so many amazing books, but she hasn't got another call from the Caldecott Committee, and that just blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind that she hasn't won another honor or a medal. This book could do it. We saw Sophie Blackall pick up a 2nd medal, I believe in 3 years, or 2nd medal in 4 years. I think it was 3, for her book, Hello Lighthouse. I think it might be time for Aaron Stead to get another shiny sticker. This book is absolutely breathtaking. The story of a girl who wants to play her cello, but she doesn't want to play her cello in front of anyone else. She just wants to play it alone. Her parents are like, you'll play in front of a big orchestra someday. It's like, I just want to play my cello. She wants to play it. The owl gets loud, and that bothers her, so she throws a teacup. I think it's a teacup. She throws a cup at the owl and misses the owl, hits the moon. The moon comes down on her house, so then she's got to help get the moon back in the sky. Yeah, Philip Stead tells a great story, and Aaron Stead brings it to life with her immaculate illustrations. Those are 3 great books, I think. I'm really excited. All right, now we're going to move to Newbery. All right, the first one, Sweeping Up the Heart by Kevin Henkes. From the very first page to the very end, I loved the writing in this. And I just kept saying, man, I wish I could write like one sentence in my life like Kevin Henke's. He's just so good. Like, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. Makes such an amazing and complex and deep story in these such few pages, but he does time and time again. He won a Newbery honor for The Year of Billy Miller. I believe he also won a Newbery honor for Olive's Ocean. He just flat out right. And this story is so heartwarming. It's the story of Amelia, and Amelia has lost her mother, and she wants to go somewhere on spring break, but her dad is kind of, I don't know, I feel like I want to call him a curmudgeon. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't really want. He's just like a homebody. That's not the same as a curmudgeon. And she does, but she doesn't get to. And then she ends up going instead to the art studio every day on spring break. And she meets a boy there, a boy whose aunt owns the art studio, and they become really good friends. And then it is believed that they might feel the spirit of her mother. It's just a beautiful story. Sweeping up the heart. Early Newbery buzz. You heard it here first. The Bridge Home by Padma Venkatraman is going. I think this is the early favorite. I feel like this book, where we get to follow these two sisters in India, these two homeless sisters in India, try to find home, try to escape an abusive situation that they're in, and what they find out about themselves and what the characters that they meet. It really is a heartbreaking story. A lot of people who have read this have just been destroyed by it, mentally and emotionally. But it's a real tale, and it takes you to a place that I don't think many of us have been, and what it means to survive, and what it means to be a part of a family, and truly what home means. I think that this book is going to have a shiny sticker. I think that this book is going to do what's tricky, to come out early in the year and to be a favorite, and then to just ride that wave all the way to the end. This is a really, really special book that I am so thankful that I got a chance to read, and even more thankful that kids get a chance to read and experience. The Bridge to Home. It's distinguished. Genesis Begins Again by Alicia D. Williams, debut middle grade novelist. This book had my heart from the beginning, and I just could not get enough of it. I just kept turning pages and putting out things I should have been doing to read this book because I loved it so much. You have to read this book. It's amazing. Genesis's life is so hard and so tricky, and she's just trying to figure out who she is, and she's trying to become someone who she thinks other people want her to be, and her family life is like so just unstable, and then they like move, but it's not a good situation. And you have to read this book. You have to read this book because you need to put it in your library and in your classroom, and you need to be able to talk to this book about kids, especially if you look like me. We need to read more books like this. We need to read more books like this. It's so good, so good. So yeah, some Newbery picks, some Caldecott picks. It's going to be a great year. If you have a book that I missed that I need to read before I make this next video in the summer, leave it down in the comments below, and I will be sure to add it to my to-read list. Have an awesome-tastic day, and happy reading.